Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to get started. How about with Maya Hayom?
Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
We turn now. We're going to turn to page 142 for Shalom Aleichem. And as we do, let's take a moment just to sort of appreciate that the week is coming to an end and that Shabbat is beginning. It's a time for us to maybe turn off any stress that we had over the week and be able to think about what blessings we have in our lives to recharge and to be able to find some peace, which is what this song is all about. Page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlech, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlech, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Melachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidechem leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay, ay, ay. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 138, we turn to Lahadodi, remembering that Shabbat is a time of celebration. It's coming together, really, and like that's what I love about Shabbat, is it kind of feels like a wedding. It feels like a family event, being able to come together and see one another. Grateful to those of you who are joining us virtually, but also for those of you who do come in person. It's just nice to be able to interact with each other and have this reunion. So let's celebrate Shabbat as though it's a wedding. Page 138, Lecha Dodi, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, L'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, L'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, L'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך
דודי דודי,
לך דודי לקרא קלה, ונשמה נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, ונשמה נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, וירש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תפילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקרא קלה, ונשמה נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, ונשמה נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך אורי, 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 שיר דמרי, כי כבוד אדוני עלייך נקרא. לך
לך
דודי, לך דודי לקרא קלה, ונשמה נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, ונשמה נקבלה.
We rise and face the entrance to greet Shabbat.
באים שלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצלה, תחמוני ים סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקרא קלה, ונשמה נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא קלה, ונשמה נקבלה.
Now you may be seated. We'll greet Shabbat with the lighting of our candles and bringing in the light that Shabbat represents into our world and inspires us to be the light that makes our world a brighter place.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו להדליק של שבת.
Amen. Page 144.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ויעלמד יברך יראותי וימליך בחוטיה, וחייך עוד יומך ובחייך בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולם ויומיה.
יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה.
Brehu.
לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן ביעלמה במרום.
Amen. We rise for our call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, page 146. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed Le'olam Va'ed Yadalai Lai Lai Yadalai Lai Lai Yadalai Lai Lai Yadalai Lai Lai Yadalai May be seated. I always there's 2 times of the year that I particularly love leading Shabbat services, and it's these couple weeks and then about 6 months from now, because we're supposed to be saying these blessings right as the sun is setting. And, for about half the year, the sun won't set till after our service is over, and for the other half of the year, the sun is set long before our service begins. But when we say the Ma'ariv Aravim during this time of year, we get to thank God while witnessing the change taking place before our eyes. And that's a wonderful act of appreciation, I think. So let's, on page 148, let's read together the translation for the Ma'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim.
Page 150.
Ahavat Adonai Beit Yisrael Amcha Amcha Torah u'mitzvot u'kim u'mishpati otanu limadeta al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochareinu uvkumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו, ויארך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם בלילה, נגי יומם בלילה. באהבתך אל תסיר, ולעולמי. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
152.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לתותחות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
I have to imagine when we think about the hundreds of thousands of Israelites who crossed the sea together, that not all of them liked each other. There must have been some conflict, you'd imagine, between some of them, where even there's probably some thoughts, am I getting heckled? Oh, hi, Miriam. That's my little girl right there. She's like, Dad's talking again. This is so embarrassing.
She's ready to lead us across the sea.
Exactly. Well, this is your part of the service, Miriam. Yeah, but what I was saying before I was interrupted, kids, no respect for their parents, was that there must have been some conflict between some of them. But but they must have also said, look, we have a common goal, and that's getting to freedom. And since we have a common goal, let's find ways to cross over together and perhaps to get away not only from the bondage of Egypt, but the bondage of conflict between us and come together to achieve something. So we read that standing on this parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. And there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Page 158.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Join me. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ma'alim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh norati la. Asepele מבני משה ומרים. כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
160, Hashkivenu.
This is a beautiful setting by Dan Nichols, who frequents many of our summer camps. Try that with me. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us with wisdom, compassion, trust. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, el kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
162.
I don't know if you've heard of this composer, Rabbi. He's a little on the older side, but he worked in California a long time. His name is Donnie Massing.
I know Donnie personally.
You know him personally.
We've done programs together.
So have I.
Not only do I know Donnie, but his son Jonathan's one of my close friends.
Oh, that's marvelous. Well, maybe we should invite him here. This is his Visham.
I'm sure he'll accept the invitation after I tell him that you said, well, you probably don't know him because he's so old, but I mean, but Donnie is a friend, yes.
This is his Vishamru. Vishameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, לדורותם, ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי, וביום השביעי שבת, שבת פעיל אחת. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, לדורותם, ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם, לדורותם, ברית עולם.
Page 164, we rise for the Amidah.
אדוני שפתי תיתך ולפי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up thy lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Yadalai, 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu, Elohei Avraham v'Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah v'Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגין, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגין אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכה לחיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סמך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. רצון עמך, יהיו לרצון עמך, וגם ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגאלי.
this time, we think of those whom we love, who could use a prayer for healing of the mind, body, and spirit, and those who are in a period of recovery. We are our Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, can be found on page 371.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
This week we think of these loved ones, members of our community. Avraham Shlomo ben Yochanan v'Simcha, Elimelech ben Sadi, Gitto Leah bat Masha Chana, Barbara Arnovitz, Maureen Berry, Ariana Berenson, Kevin Bernstein, Denise Dobling, David Dowsett, Genevieve Ellsworth, Shulamit Marguerite Shlomeris Epstein, Yitzhak Figelski, Will Goldman, Susan Horn, Sharon Katz, Patrick Koziol, Jeffrey W. Levy, Mary Jane Levy Dixon, Megan Magleby, Shari Pedersen, Ina Sable, Penny Spector, Linda Stern, and Judy Wolf. If you have a name at home, I'd invite you to share it at this time. And when I look in your direction, if you have a name to add, I invite you to share that as well. Hear me. Pete.
The renewal of spirit, and let us sing Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I know this is the case for a lot of clergy. Do you remember the very first B'nai Mitzvah you officiated?
Wow, so many.
Do you remember the first one, though?
Well, like the very first one I ever did.
Yeah.
In my career? So many ago.
You just ruined my whole sermon, but okay. Well, what I was about to say...
Remember my first one here?
From 2 months ago, thank you. Before the cantor ruined my sermon, what I was about to say was, you always remember the first life cycle. Maybe it's just me.
Aww.
Maybe it's just me. I'm sentimental like that. It's okay. I'm teasing you.
I love them all.
For me, I've officiated, I'm sure, like over 100 weddings, close to 200 funerals, over 100 B'nai Mitzvah, and a bunch of baby namings. You know, I'm younger in my career, I'm newer in my career, so maybe that's why it's a bit more recent for me. But I remember the first funeral I ever did was for a comedian named Bob Stone. I remember the first baby naming I ever did was for a little girl in the Winnicott family, and I remember the first wedding I ever did was for a couple named Alan and Svetlana. I remember those, and I won't share the name of the first bat mitzvah I ever did, but for the purposes of this, but I remember it well. And I don't necessarily remember it well for the right reasons. I remember it, though, so well because I walked in that morning very nervous and excited to officiate my first B'nai Mitzvah. And with this girl, her parents were divorced and had gone through a very rough divorce. And I remember I walked into the synagogue to people yelling. And I walked into the synagogue and found was the brother of the mom, the uncle, screaming at her ex-husband, the father of the girl, and them being physically restrained from each other, and the bat mitzvah girl in tears. And that's something I will always remember, and how badly I felt, and how I had to, in this very first B'nai Mitzvah that I ever officiated, pull people apart, pull them aside, and ask them, what are you doing? Why are you here? Are you here to fight and start trouble, or are you here to celebrate this young woman? And likewise, sometimes we've seen this at other things. I fortunately did not officiate at this one funeral, but there was a funeral that I heard about because I worked for the funeral director very closely, and he told me about a funeral where these two brothers who hadn't talked in a very long time got in a fist fight at their father's funeral, and one punched the other one and knocked him backwards, and he fell into the funeral director, who fell over and broke his arm as a result of this. And I can't help but think, what would their father have thought that this was happening at the place where people were to remember him? And maybe we've all experienced something like this before, not to that level, but maybe we've had Thanksgivings, or we've had Passover Seders, or weddings or something, or graduation, where somebody says, I'm not going to this thing if so-and-so is invited. Or tell me, I had a family event once where two of my relatives that don't care much for each other. One of them called me and say, which hotel is this person staying at? Because I want to make sure I'm not staying at that hotel. And when people do that, they make themselves look terrible. And they taint what's supposed to be a good event, because instead of celebrating a person, what they're doing is they're putting their ego as the central focus of that event. And in Genesis, the book of Genesis, there are so many conflicts. Unfortunately, the very first one between siblings is Cain and Abel, where one murders the other. And so there can't be any sort of reconciliation. But we see family conflict throughout the entire book. We see Abraham and his nephew Lot have a dispute and disagreement and separate. And we see Jacob and Esau have a whole bunch of problems. And then this causes Jacob to flee and to go move, not see his brother for about 3 decades. And we see Joseph's brothers beat him up, fake his death, and sell him into slavery. And with each of these examples, we do find in the Torah reconciliation. Abraham going up, assembling an army when Lot is kidnapped, and fighting the very first war in the Middle East in order to free Lot. Jacob and Esau coming together and hugging. And Joseph forgiving his brothers and saving them from famine and them apologizing. And one of these conflicts that we also have is between Isaac and Ishmael, Isaac being the father of the Jewish people, one of the fathers of the Jewish people, while Ishmael being the father of who would eventually become the Arab people. And so Isaac and Ishmael, we don't exactly know what happens. Ishmael is older than Isaac, and basically the Torah says that one day the two of them are horsing around. And Sarah sees this and is unhappy and says Ishmael has to go. Some people interpret that as Ishmael is beating up on Isaac. Some have suggested that he was sexually molesting Isaac. Some have said, maybe he wasn't doing anything. Maybe he was just playing with Isaac. But the seeing him and knowing that was not her biological child caused her jealousy and to resent him. We don't know exactly what happened. But the ultimate consequence is that Ishmael gets expelled into the desert to die with his mom. And yet God comes through and helps Ishmael. And Ishmael and Isaac don't meet again for a long time. But we read in this week's Parsha that through the death of their father, Abraham, they do come back together for his funeral. And so we see that there's something that they have in common. And through this event, they're able to reconcile and make peace. And this provides a model for us. Like I said, we see through Isaac and Ishmael's father, Abraham, and his nephew Lot, and Isaac's sons, Jacob and Esau, and Isaac's grandsons, Joseph and his brothers, that reconciliation for families is possible. But what we have to do when we have conflict is to move past that by looking for common ground. And so, what if that bat mitzvah, people said, you know what? We're going to put our differences aside for today and focus on the one thing that we share. We have traveled long distances because we love this girl. And we're going to celebrate that. And in the case of Isaac and Ishmael, they're saying, we loved our dad. Our dad loved us. So maybe in remembering him, we can make his memory a blessing by loving each other. And I saw this model at a baby naming too. I saw a baby naming where these ex-spouses who did not like each other whatsoever became grandparents for the first time. And they came to this baby naming and not having a good relationship with one another. But one of the ex-spouses used this as an opportunity to write a letter to the other one, and put it with a framed picture of the baby, and gave it to their ex-spouse, who opened it and read a letter that said, I'm so excited that we're grandparents. I'm so excited that we have this new baby, this new life for us to love and cherish and make memories with. Congratulations. This is so exciting. I'm so excited for you that you get to experience this. And in doing so, what these ex-spouses did was say, we're giving this new life and this coming together where we both are going to be here and we have to deal with one another, is also an opportunity for us to write a new chapter. And so for those of us with conflict with others, we can look at this for shared success, for shared love, for shared goals. Even just today, I was talking with someone who I haven't seen eye to eye with on synagogue issues. And at times it's gone heated. And it took in that conversation saying, wait a second, why are we both heated on this? Well, it's because we love our synagogue. We love this place. And we just have different approaches to that. And so it took a powerful moment to say, you know what, let's take a second and ask, do we both want me to succeed as the rabbi here? And the answer was, from both of us, yes. Do we both want Kol Ami to succeed as a synagogue? And the answer was, yes. And so in acknowledging that shared goal, that shared love, it completely changed the tone of the conversation. Finding those areas for shared ground is essential. And when we do so, we aren't going to be necessarily like those people who fought at that bat mitzvah, but rather events, family events, synagogue events, other events give us the opportunity to become like Isaac and Ishmael and find reconciliation so that we can grow forward together. Shabbat Shalom. I would like to invite up, I see Dov Delay from our Board of Trustees. I'd love to invite Dov, thank you Dov for all you do for our community, to share with us some announcements.
Hello, everybody. Hello to all the Zoom Jews. We are over 2/3 to our goal for our high holiday appeal. Yes? We're doing good? Yes, we are. And we need to get to the final goal. So dig in your pockets and see what you can come up with here as a donation to keep us relevant and growing, I must say. Help by investing in our future. Family Shabbat is next week. Families with young children are invited to join the cantor in person for a half-hour service of Shabbat songs and stories early on Friday at 5:30 on November 5th. And Hanukkah, I can't believe this. Why is Hanukkah so early?
It's nuts.
Oh, it seems so early. It's the 28th of November this year, and if you have relatives like we do, also know that the postage just went up immensely, so be prepared. Support our Hanukkah for All fundraiser. We try to make sure that families in our community and seniors receive some gifts and some gelt, regardless of their circumstances. It's kind of fun to be involved in that. We're also doing a Coats for Kids, coats, clothing, and more drive beginning on Monday, actually. Bring gently used coats, now, and really gently used, not coats you were going to throw away, but ones that are slightly used or even new ones, socks, underwear, toiletries. These items get distributed through Jewish Family Services, and if you've never had the opportunity to meet them, work with them, they work with all people, not just Jews. They're a wonderful organization. We have a lot of upcoming classes, Kol Ami afternoon jam session with our groovy cantor over here, musicians ages 13 and over on Sunday, November 7th. We've got some adult and teen trope courses beginning Sunday the 14th, and a special Hanukkah Shabbat service for all Friday, December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. And KAJY Hanukkah party is December 1st. Everyone loves that, following religious school. And the religious school Hanukkah party will be on December 5th, following religious school. Hanukkah Film Festival we're going to have, shown November 30th and December 2nd, and we'll get you more information about that. Both our religious school and preschool are enrolling. It's that time of year to do that. And check your emails and our website for more details about any of this. Make sure to return your lanyards. We use them for many things here. It also says that you're kind of kosher coming in, but put them out there on the table in the lobby. And we want to thank our clergy, Rabbi Spector and Cantor Brown Levy, our Shamos Carol. Is that tomorrow? Yeah. All right. Well then, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Yay. Thank you, Rabbi.
And Dov, if you don't mind me saying so, one other thing coming up this month. Dov was a part of our adult B'nai Mitzvah class a couple years ago, but had a conflict the day of the B'nai Mitzvah. And then, of course, shortly thereafter, we fell into COVID lockdown. And so Dov didn't get to have their big day. And on November 20th, we're going to be called up to the Torah as a B'nai Mitzvah. So join us for that. That will be a really special day that I know we're both looking forward to as well. So and Jill was one of your classmates in that class. Good to see Jill, my lovely wife. So let's see here. We are going to start to move into the concluding part of our service with Aleinu, page 586. Please rise. Will be Aleinu, I think, at the top of the page, right?
I think it's the
Or
second
bottom
part.
of the page. It's either the top or the bottom. Let's do bottom of the page. There you go.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמנו כלגינו כהם, וגר עלינו ככל המונה. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר היה אדוני למלך הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
You may be seated. This time we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, and those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. This week, if you hear the name of a loved one, you're invited to rise upon hearing that name. This week, in the period of Shloshim, 30-day period of mourning, we remember our congregant, Frida Schweitzer, and we remember Samuel Warsaw, father of Art Warsaw. And this week, we commemorate the following Yortzite's anniversary of the passing of these loved ones: Maury Levy, Harry Bontsick, Joseph Livingston, Erwin Edward Berry, Sam Mitchell, Michael Falk, Edward Goldstein, Tom Franks, Carol Landa, Hy Rudd, Isidore Gottlieb, Paul Krasny, Sarah Goldstein, Bernard Jaffe, Leah Schwartz, Rochelle Finkelstein, Warren Lindau, Benjamin Jacob Stein, Frida Gordon, Maurice Stroll, Max Stubeck, Michael Cronenberg, Ruth Avner, Ava Lubner, and Edward Lipson. And if you have a name to add, when I look in your direction, you're welcome to rise and share a name with us. And if you're at home, I invite you to share a name as well. Zichronam Libracha, may their memories be for a blessing. If you are in mourning or it's your tradition to do so, you're invited to rise. We are on page 598. Yitkadav v'yikadash shemei rabah, ve'alma divrach hirtei v'yamlech malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru ami. Yeshmei Rava Mevarach Le'olam Omeomaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yipa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemayim v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom v'imromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May source of peace and peace to all who are mourning, comfort the bereaved among us. Again we say, Amen. And we are going to turn now to page 129. Koldadi, is that what you find? Oh, and we will, what a great song. We will conclude with the words of Ki Yishmerah.
Ki yishmerah Shabbat, yishmereini. Ki yishmerah Shabbat, yishmereini. Oti le'aremeat ve'ino uveini. Oti le'aremeat ve'ino uveini. Ki yishmerah Shabbat, yishmereini. Ki yishmerah Shabbat, yishmereini. Oti le'aremeat ve'ino uveini. Oti le'aremeat ve'ino uveini.
We will rise for Kiddush, page 123.
תודה.
Sure.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת אמן. לחיים.
Chaim. Got him.
I think I'll have to drink this in a second.
And we will say, oh, let me trade you here. We'll say Motzi as well.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ ותיאבון.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Have a nice Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.